Well, Clemson men's basketball, they've had a pretty good season. And now they're the number 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. Yes, folks, this is a Clemson football channel talking about basketball. But because they've done pretty doggone good this year, and the Clemson men's basketball team will play against Mcneese. Mcneese State, yes, from Lake Charles, Louisiana. This team, they won I believe it's the Southland Conference. And there's a tie to Clemson here, and I'll get into that in just a second. But congratulations to Clemson on their 5 seed. First, welcome to the channel. Normally, I'm talking about Clemson football. I'm talking about college football. But every now and again, because I am the owner, CEO, and janitor of this channel, I switch it up and I talk about other things. Today, I'm talking about Clemson, just the men's basketball team. If you like talking college football, especially in Clemson football, but you're fond of Clemson, I don't care which order it comes in. If you want to subscribe to the channel, I hope you definitely will, because, well, it's free, and I do appreciate it. It does help out. It helps out the channel. Okay, so I'm scrolling through about 50 different tabs that I have open right now to try to get a little idea about Mcneese. But there was a name that I immediately noticed when I saw Mcneese State. And I was like, there's someone coaching there that I used to actually know. We were not besties, but I knew him. I actually interacted with him, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But former LSU head coach Will Wade, yes, he graduated Clemson. I think he was like the team manager during the Oliver Purnell days, if my memory serves me correct. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. He is the coach at Mcneese. Now, when he was at LSU, something went on. Don't know all the details there. Don't really feel like digging that up. But now he's the coach at Mcneese. And by the way, the rumor is the NC State has him as one of their potential head coach replacements. So, they just fired their coach, Will Wade. I understand they've been interviewing him. He's focusing on this. He's focusing on the game with Clemson. Don't blame him. You're in the NCAA tournament. Take care of your current team. But I don't know. Maybe some of you know the progression of those talks with NC State. But Will Wade is a hot commodity over just 2 seasons. I believe he's only been there for like 2 seasons. He's won like 49 games and only lost like 8 or something like that. So this guy is coaching quite well, and we know that Clemson. We know that Clemson is this is probably the best regular season they've ever had in school history, and I'm really excited to see what Brownell is doing right now. Brownell had a lot of time at Clemson. I believe all of us, our patience was wearing thin with him. Had he been at a school that basketball was extremely focused on basketball, Brad would have probably been gone a while ago. But today is today. He led them to the Elite 8 last year for only the 3rd time in school history, joining Cliff Ellis, Foster, those 2 guys as the only 3 guys to get Clemson to the highest, the highest level they've ever reached in the NCAA tournament as the Elite 8. This team is much better. The other night, they lost to Louisville, who ended up, unfortunately, losing to Duke. Louisville is one of the good stories in college basketball. But Clemson basketball is doing very well this year. They've raided the transfer portal 2 seasons at least in a row. It's really helped them. But Clemson has to watch Mcneese State because Will Wade, no matter the problems he had at LSU, Will Wade can coach basketball. And this is a game that, and I'm being straightforward with you, I know very little about Mcneese State. I've heard of them. I know about them in football a little bit. And Will Wade, the guy can coach. So again, I don't know all the ins and outs of whatever went on at LSU, but he can coach. Looking at Mcneese, they won 27 games this year. They lost 6. All right. They're a small school. Let's talk about some of the losses that they had. They lost to South Dakota State, very first game of the year. 2 games later, they have to play Alabama. They lost by 8 points. Pause there. You lost by 8 points to Alabama? That should raise some eyebrows. They lost to Liberty. Now, last I saw last night, Liberty was up. Did Liberty win their conference championship? I think they did. Don't quote me on that. They lost by 4 points there. They lost to Santa Clara by 7 points. They lost to Mississippi State by 3 points. And then after that, they won several games. They did drop one to Nicholls, which is, I think, is in their conference. Here's the point. This team, when you looked at, they played very well, very close with Alabama. You saw they played very close with Liberty. Liberty's a good team. You see they played very close, lost only by 3 points to Mississippi State. What does this say to anyone who is just kind of affiliated with basketball? This means that this small school is going to give Clemson a run for their money, and Clemson better not come out flat or have their mind on how many games they've won this season, because Mcneese is coached by a guy who's coaching against his former team. Not his former team, his former school, the school he graduated from, okay? He's an alumnus. He is coaching against them, and he would love to do nothing more than to beat his school he graduated from to make a name for himself. Because one day, Brad Brownell may adios Clemson. And Neff, if he's still around, I have to go, whoa, hold up. Where's Will Wade? Wade beat us, knocked us out of the NCAA tournament. He went to Clemson, graduated from Clemson. And he did it with Mcneese. I mean, to me, this is just one of those stories that in the NCAA tournament that just sounds like it's teed up to be an obvious upset alert. And the big thing that has to happen for Clemson is to come into this game, use your size, use your guard play. But most of all, and this is where, in my opinion, they lost to Louisville the other night. They never got themselves into a rhythm. I know that Helpburn is fantastic. He's one of the best defensive players in America, plays for Louisville. He was a problem. I mean, good grief, he had 5 steals in the first half. At the same time, Clemson made it easier for Louisville to lock them down defensively, because Clemson never just took a deep breath and moved the ball and looked for a more aggressive, not a more aggressive, but a more advantageous scoring point. Never did. They did it a few times, and it was like, whoa, what you just did there, do again. Louisville can't stop it. But Clemson just, it almost looked like they were playing pickup basketball. Louisville had frustrated them so much. Clemson looked like they were playing a pickup game at your local gym. And that's the reason they lost. And the very next night, which was last night, Duke comes out without Cooper Flagg. And what do? They beat Louisville. Louisville couldn't buy a basket. So Clemson needs to focus on this game, come out, run good, fundamental basketball, play good fundamental basketball, set up your play, move the ball. You don't have to hot dog here and there. You don't have to take Locken at 7 feet tall and get him to try to do some type of weird fadeaway, almost like he's out of control. No, he's 7 feet tall. There's no reason for him to act like he's my height at about 5'9", okay? But I'm telling you, Mcneese is going to come in. They're going to play them very, very well. I will be shocked if Clemson wins this game by 20 points. Now, do I believe if Clemson comes out and they're playing good fundamental basketball, they're moving the ball well, they're playing great defense as a Brad Brownell team. I think Brad Brownell's one of the best defensive coaches in college basketball, period. That hasn't been his problem. His problem over the years has been a lack of scores. He now has those scores. He now has that experience via players who have stayed at Clemson and players he's brought in from the transfer portal. Brownell knows how to coach defense. The problem is offense has been the problem. It's no longer the problem, okay? So he has to pull it together. He has to pull it together with Mcneese. They have to focus. If they do that, could they do that to Mcneese? Of course they could. Of course they definitely could. But what I'm trying to say here is that Mcneese State is the poster child for an upset in the first round of the NCAA tournament. That they received the seat as high as they did. That they're, what was that again? They're a number 12 seed. That Mcneese State is a number 12 seed. That tells you how good they are. I mean, that's a small conference, y'all. That's not some massive conference. And they kind of farted around and barely got into the tournament, got a number 12 seed. No, they won their conference. And I named out the schools that are really good they played well with. Now, that Nicholls, you really don't understand how they blew that, but they did. My point here is this. I believe Mcneese will come out and play them well. I told you that I knew Will Wade. Now, I want to qualify this. Will Wade couldn't pick me out of a lineup right now. If you said Brian Knight, he would go, who? Okay. But many moons ago, as I've shared with some of you were just about to find out, I used to be a basketball official. So for 11 years, I was a basketball official. I started for the South Carolina High School League. I was 18 years old. I mean, I was a baby out there. So I was literally officiating, as soon as I could. And I officiated for 11 years, spent the last 8 of the 11 in the Georgia High School League, and officiated with some brilliant people, some people that was, they're now calling college ball. Then they were calling college ball. I had some people I worked with who was being scouted by the NBA. I stopped officiating back in 2013. I took like a year or two off, and then I went back to officiating for one season. So I think I got 11, maybe 12 in. But I haven't done it since 2013. But I used to officiate the Clemson men's basketball camps as well as the women's camps. So I knew Barbara Kennedy, God rest her soul. Knew Coach Davis. Knew Coach Hodge on the women's side. Switch over to the men's side. I worked the camps when Ncaa was there. Worked the camps when Purnell was there. I remember Shaka Smart when he was at Clemson. But I used to deal with Will Wade, and I used to deal with him all the time. I'll never forget there was these camps, these schools pay money to come to these camps. And I know they pay a lot of money, but they had one particular coach who was just abusive. He was causing trouble. He almost caused some fights. Every official and their brother had told Will, y'all are going to have to do something with this guy. We need to at least call a technical on him, cost him something. You may even have to tell him we're going to toss him. I know he paid to be here, but I mean, so did all these other people, and he's acting crazy. And Will was like, "Oh, I've got this. I've got this. I've got this. I've got it toned down." But it was almost like he was toning us down. It's like, no, we're not the ones that needs to be toned down. The problem child is over there. Everybody else is not the problem child, including the officiating, including the other schools. Yeah, he's paying to be here, but the other 30 schools is paying to be here as well, and this guy is just making a mockery of everything. That's what I remember. He was a very nice guy. But it was more along those lines. He just wanted to keep the peace. They've paid to be here, and so on. So he wouldn't remember me at all, but that's what I remember. Again, he was a very nice guy. He was very easy to deal with. So, but I remember that. We're like, Will, let us just at least tee this guy. Oh, no, I got it. We're good. So anyway, obviously he's doing well for himself. Get in here, say hello to a few people. Smokey the Bear. Upset alert. I agree with you 100%. Roger Parts, go Tigers. Thanks for supporting the channel on a monthly basis. I see that symbol beside your name. Thank you, my friends. Good to see you. Portal did save Brownell's job. I wanted Pat Kelsey from that was at College of Charleston, and he's now at Louisville, and he's done what he's done in one season. It really did save Brownell's job, because I said this earlier, and I have no problem with Brownell. I've said he's a really good defensive coach. He needed scores, but I have said this, and I'll say it again. Brownell is a really good coach who coaches at a school. Clemson fans are going to get mad at this, but I'm sorry. It's not football. He's a really good coach. He coaches at a school where he doesn't have to be really good, and he knows it. And up until the past few years, you just haven't seen the consistency. So good for him. If you can be a really good coach, let's just have that situation where you actually shine through, and it seems to be shining through. Eddie Blackburn, SC alumni here, Cox fan, but son graduated Tigerville on full scholarship ride, so can't hate too much. Good luck in basketball tourney, baseball. Also, great season so far. Good to see you, Eddie Blackburn. Hey, listen, I have Gamecocks in my family. My oldest son is a Gamecock. You try to raise them right, you do pretty good everywhere, and then they go pull for the chickens. But I'm glad you're here. Glad you're hanging out. Auburn to Tennessee, overrated. Auburn, I can't say so. Tennessee, I can't say that either. The SEC has been really, really good in basketball this year, and over the past few years, they've really stepped it up. They've always had teams like Kentucky that would come in and play great basketball. Florida, they had championships, in the tens or between 2000 and 2008 or somewhere in there. So I can't say either one of those schools are overrated. I would just say Tennessee looks like they've hit a ceiling, and I think Auburn probably got caught reading some of their own press. Auburn's a really good basketball team, but we'll see how it works out. We know that Auburn got knocked out by Yale last year. I think it was Yale last year. I could be wrong. Thomas Honeycutt, it's good to see you. Don't know why I said it that way. Yeah. I don't know why I said it that way. Miranda, good to see you, Miranda Smith. Good to see you. Tommy Williams, man, I finally caught your live shows as of late. # work, go Tigers. Hey, you got to make that money, man. Got to make that money. You got to be saving up for the football season, bro. You got to listen. I don't want them nosebleed tickets. I don't want those tickets up there where I have to get a mountain goat to guide me up to my seat, and then it's so cold. They got me one of those big poofy jackets, massive. And they give me one of those helmets with a little light on top of it so aircraft doesn't hit me. I'm sitting up so high. No, you got to make that money so you can get those good tickets. Good to see you, Tommy Williams. Always good at David Wood. Can we talk Ian Shefflin to play tight end for Dabo? I would love to see him play some football. I think it would probably. I think it'd be some good fun. I think it'd be some really, really good fun. Not saying Brownell should go. However, as we talked about before, good basketball coaches can easily move up, and they are out. They are out of there. I'm not saying we should. However, as we talked about before, good basketball coaches can easily move up, and they're out of there. I think I get what you're saying, Tiger Tom. I believe you got to think Brownell has been coaching at Clemson for how many years? I've been married almost 13 years this May, and he had been the coach at Clemson a few years before I got married. So, let's just put it this way. He's hitting on something right now that I'm not going to give him any crap. I'm not. And you know me, I would. But I'm glad to see him turn the corner because I always thought he was a good basketball coach that just, again, did not have to. Have you ever met someone that they were really good at something and they weren't bad when they were doing their job, but they were at a place where they could kind of be like, oh well, because there was no great demand on them? That's how I felt about Brad Brownell at Clemson. I think the guy can coach. I just think he hasn't had to be that great. Because, Clemson's a football school. It's a baseball school. It's a anything other than men's basketball school. Noah got tickets to the LSU game. Let's go. Noah, love that pick. Love that profile pick. And Noah, I'll tell you this. I know we're talking about men's basketball, but I want to answer something you said this week on one of the videos, and I haven't responded to about you disagree with me about Tate Reynolds. I'm not high on Tate Reynolds. That's nothing personal against the young man. You believe he's actually going to do an incredible job. And Noah, I want to say this in front of everybody to you. As much as people probably thinks that I'm one of those people who can't be reasoned with, I can be reasoned with. And I don't want to be right a lot of times that I have been right. I mean this. I hope you're onto something and it's something that I'm totally missing. Because if Tate Reynolds does come in and he puts on a show, I will gladly eat that crow. Gladly. Because that means we won't have a quarterback problem. On the flip side, if Tate Reynolds is a good player, but he's not that elite style quarterback we need at Clemson, it's going to be a problem. I hope you're right. All right. Let me see. Like Beamer at USC doesn't have to be great. Doesn't have to be great. Yeah. I mean, I would say this, that Beamer is in a really interesting spot because Beamer could stay at South Carolina unless he just started stinking it up for years to come. And he could win 8 games, 9. And if he hits like 10 wins somewhere over the next year or two, he's there for another good, unless he just started tanking. Again, you can't tank. But if you win like 10 games, like 1 year, that could buy you another 5 at South Carolina. I mean, it really could. But then again, like if Oklahoma comes calling and ask him to come out there and be their head coach, what does he do? That's something else. Russ-tastic, the Tennessee Volunteers, they have a decent path to the Final Four. You know, Russ, I haven't looked at the full bracket. When I saw Clemson come up, I saw that they got Mcneese State, and I was like, oh, my goodness. And then I started doing the research on Mcneese State, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's Will Wade. I'll trust you on that. The big problem I saw with Tennessee against Florida is what's your short guard? The guy can shoot the lights out, and he's a dog. But he's like, what, 5'9", 5'10", somewhere in there, if that. Florida just used that size. They used that size against him. So when he was trying to guard a guy that, was 5 inches taller than him, 6 inches taller than him, he was just going over him. And that's one of the problems. It's one of the problems I've seen. I also saw some really questionable officiating in there. Balls that got knocked out by one guy, and it was clear that so-and-so hit it, but Florida got the ball. I don't know. The best officiated game, I talked about being an official there for a little bit. I do take it easy on officials. You'd be shocked at certain things. I would take it. I take that back. I don't take it easy. If they do a good job and everybody's booing, I'm like, that is what it is. Everybody's just mad that their team got a flag thrown or maybe a foul called against them. But I am really hard on officials as well, because I've sat in those meetings where they would tell you, and this is where the game is getting manipulated, Russ, and other people who's listening here. I have sat in those meetings where they basically taught you that if it looked a certain way, this is the call you make. Well, hold on. That didn't happen, but it looked that way. So basically, because it looked that way, you have to call this foul, or else everybody's going to go crazy. And if you have an evaluator there, you might even get a fine. And I get how that could be a tool used if you don't know what completely and totally happened in the moment, because stuff happens so fast, you are going to miss it. You're a human being. But I mean, I'll give an example. I know this is totally going out in left field. But y'all hang here with me. Everybody who's hanging in here with me, God bless you. But War Story, I was actually officiating a Clemson basketball camp. And at this time, I'd been officiating for years. I had a bunch of seasons under my belt, had a bunch of training under my belt, worked with some great people who's really good officials. Heck, the people that was over the association I was in, they were SEC women's officials. One of them had called the women's the Olympics in Athens for women's basketball. I mean, top notch officiating. So at this point, I walk in. I'm not green behind the ears. I've been yelled at, called everything in the book. I've seen a lot of basketball, good and bad, different levels, and so on. And I'll never forget, I was working the camp, and I was working for some guy I'd never met before, but he was he was an up-and-coming official. He was pretty cocky. And the ball got blocked, and or let me rephrase this. He thought the ball got blocked, or that it got tipped, because when the ball came out of the shooter's hands, it came out weird. It was kind of a rush shot. He was being contested, and the ball bounced off the corner of the backboard and went out of bounds. He thought it was tipped. Now, if you know officiating, I'm in the trail position. We were running a two-man crew. So the guy under the goal is called a lead. I was trail. So we're in a diagonal. Three-man crew is what you normally see in high school games. You see it in college games, etc. But I was the trail. I clearly saw it was a whacked-out shot, a rushed shot that was being contested. It may have looked from way under there where he was at, which he wasn't supposed to be looking. But that ball was not blocked. It was a rush shot. It came out weird. So the rotation on the ball was totally whacked out. And so the ball goes out of bounds. It's his call to call it, but he's looking up at me because I could see clearly. And he was going to give the ball back to the offense because he thought it was blocked. It came out that whacked. And I said, nope, it's the other team. It was a bad shot. And he came to me during a timeout, and he said, well, you got to understand that the trajectory of the ball had changed. Okay, yes, that does affect things. But, folks, here's why I gave you that story. When you assume something based off of a scenario that's in your head that very much happens versus what you actually saw, remember what you actually saw actually trumps in theory, right? So there's in theory, which is great, and you need to use that with your judgment. But if I clearly see that it's a wompy shot by an offensive player who's trying to get off a quick shot that's being contested, it's not going to be a quality formed shot, a nice rotation on the ball. You're actually going to have a rushed shot. The rotation will be weird. You're going to think it got blocked. It goes out of bounds. You have to call what you see and not scenarios. And a lot of what I'm seeing today is scenarios that it looked like this, so we're calling this call. I saw that today in the Tennessee-Florida game. I can't remember the timeline. It's probably somewhere under 7 minutes. Florida catches a rebound. Tennessee player swings around. Did he contact the player, the Florida player, in the face? Yes, he did. Did he foul him? No, he didn't. The Florida player kicks back, pulls a LeBron James. You remember, you can touch people. Basketball is a contact sport. And I just sit there and I wasn't even interested anymore, because as I watched that, I realized not realized something, but it just reinforced the truth that, yeah, you have some really good officials. By the way, the Big East, their officiating was really good yesterday. I really liked it. I really enjoyed the officiating in that game. They allowed them to be physical, but they didn't let them get out of hand. They were consistent on both ends. They set the precedence. If it's a foul on this side of the court, it's a foul on the other side of the court. They had a good presence. Anything that was getting outside of a good physical game, they nipped it and got rid of it. I pulled a Barney Fife there. They nipped it in the bud. Nipped it. The problem with officiating overall is guys are calling scenarios instead of what they see. If you don't see it and you have to make a judgment call, use the scenario. But what you see is what you see. And so that's one of the problems that I have with officiating these days is we're calling scenarios. We're calling case. There's a case book, by the way. If you call high school basketball, and maybe they've changed it. It's been a while. Again, so some things have probably changed. You have the rule book, and then you have a case book. So a rule book goes through the rules, defines everything right down to what is a dunk. Is reach in a foul? Reach in is not a foul, by the way, folks. Reach in is not a foul. Well, they slapped me. Then that's not a reach in. How do you steal a ball? You reach to take the ball. It's when you contact the offensive player in a way that impedes his or her progress or causes them to lose control of the ball in a way that you're smacking them, you're slapping them. That would be the easy way. But reach, you can reach all you want to. Casebook, on the other hand, gives you scenarios. Player A is going up against player B, and then it would tie back to the rule that it was addressing. Again, too many guys are calling scenarios when right in front of them it happened. They saw what happened. They didn't address what happened. They addressed scenarios. So it's annoying. I'm usually a pessimistic fan too, so I get it. I'm just pretty confident in what I see from him. No, what I hope you're right. David thinks Beamer's geeky. Rustastic, ding, 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 officiating. Going to be hard to get to the Sweet 16. Hufferbilly Paul, it's good to see you in here. Thanks for supporting the channel. Y'all see that symbol besides Hufferbilly Paul's name? Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you being in here. What did the locker room lockout investigation find out? I don't know. I did hear about that. I haven't heard the details about this. Anybody who doesn't know what Hufferbilly Paul is talking about, Clemson tried to get into their locker room at halftime of the Louisville game, and they were conveniently locked out. Yeah, locked out. I have no clue what happened there, but I will tell you this: if I were Brownell, I would have lost it, because here I am in the ACC. I'm one of only 2 teams playing right now. We're seeds 2 and 3, and you're waiting to play Duke the next day. So much is on the line. This is the best season you've had maybe ever, and you can't get into your locker room to regroup your guys in a game that came down to 3 points. I mean, Clemson ended up being way down and then came back, brought it back within 3 points. But I have no clue what happened there, my friend. Yes, they have replay. Yes. We need the same basketball coach everybody does, which is a top-notch expert recruiter, or we need a coach who knows where to find one to recruit 2 interchangeable starting lineups as top teams do. For Billy Paul asked, do you think Brad Brownell is not that coach? You know what? I get exactly what you're talking about, Tiger Tom. And for Billy Paul, and I'm not trying to play Switzerland here. If you'd have caught me 2 years ago with Brownell, I'm leaning more on Tiger Tom's side. Catch me now, I'm giving Brownell the benefit of the doubt. With that said, I think that Brownell should have. I'm telling you, against LSU at Louisville. I'm thinking about Will Wade and LSU when he was there at LSU. Transparently, I truly believe that Clemson started playing pickup basketball the other night. And that's where Brownell has to call a timeout, look at them, and go, Hunter, you've been here for 15 years. You know better. Yeah, that dumb foul right before halftime. You know better. You know better. I was dumb. If there was a freshman or a sophomore that did that, I would go, okay, that's still dumb, but they're a freshman or a sophomore. They do dumb things. Dude, you've been here for 6 flipping years. There's guys in the NBA you're years older than. You know better. There was a couple of times Zachary I felt was just like kind of hot dogging it at times, and just they needed to set things up. Locken couldn't get his feet set. Well, when you're 7 feet tall, you have to get your feet set, and you need to stop acting like you're 5'9" like I am. Post up like a man, get the flipping ball, and dominate. Draw the foul at least. You don't go in hoping the official will bail you out. Go in strong to where if you get hit, the official's whistle automatically toots. So I get what you're both saying. There's some things that still needs to be fixed there, but overall they're doing a lot better than what they were. Folks, if you hung with me this long, bless you. 34 people's in here live. I hope you have hit the thumbs up. It does help the channel. It does help the video. I do appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Remember, it is free. Y'all take care of yourself, and as always, go Tigers.